But before you talk about, I'll give you an update on the different projects and things going on. But let's talk about who we are and what we are and get some assumptions straight. See that top one? Not a bedroom community. I can't tell you the number of times I've had people, and Debbie can, I'm fairly accessible. If you want to have a cup of coffee, I'll have a cup of coffee with you. I'll meet with you. I can't tell you the number of times people have said, well, you know, we're just a bedroom community. No, we're not, and we never have been. I'll show you what one looks like in a minute. 2015 population, 40,978, almost 41. And our jobs, 4864. It's almost 1 for 1. That's almost like a big city. Big cities have a lot of jobs, right? We are a major regional job hub. And here's my point. How do we compare with other cities? Because it's important to know. Now, I don't know if you can read that, but I'll read it to you. And let's kind of do the numbers on the left-hand side. See that 100? That's a numerator-denominator thing. 40,978, 40,864. If you divide 4864, the citizens into the jobs, it'll be more than 1. You can see we're a little below that, a little below 1 because we had fewer jobs than citizens. We're not a bedroom community. Look at Berkeley Lake right beside us. Boy, they are. That's what a bedroom community looks like. Sandy Springs, you know, they got 90,000 citizens, are right on the edge of Atlanta. Yeah, they have more jobs. They just had Mercedes come there. That's what a big city looks like. Roswell, it's about 50, it's about 2 for 1. That's a bedroom community. Look at Norcross. How'd that happen? They have about 15,000. They don't have many people, and they have some very shrewd and smart annexations, and so they've got a lot of jobs. Good for them. Johns Creek is a archetypical bedroom community. They don't have many jobs, and most of their citizens come right down 141 going for those jobs. A lot of them stay right here. You know, they come and they work here, but they're a bedroom community. You can see Dunwoody, Duluth, look at Doraville, and look at let me make the punchline now. Look at the city of Atlanta. They're exactly where we are. Who would have thought, if somebody would have said, what's your profile in terms of being a regional, a job hub? Who would have thought we compared with Atlanta? I didn't know that. But that is the point about attracting jobs and doing what you can to keep them. And by saying that, I want you to understand, because you know where those jobs are? Tech Park, primarily. That's true. Everybody who's a businessman knows that your business has to evolve or you will die. Same thing is true of cities. If you don't maintain your infrastructure, if you don't go find your oldest apartments and redevelop them, if you don't look at Tech Park and see it for what it is, it's a suburban office park. It's nothing magical, although we like to think of it that way because Paul Duke was, you know, the father of this area. He founded the city. So you have to address those things because otherwise citizens will typically go where the newest things are. So let's talk about where we are with our current focus issues. We'll talk about the town center, the innovation hub in Tech Park, the Holcomb Bridge Outer Peachtree Corner Circle area, transportation, and preserving green space. This came from the LCI study. It's our commercial corridor development. That's where most of the jobs are. The up here, that's the town center, that's the forum. This is the Holcomb Bridge corridor, the Chick-fil-A, IHOP Plaza. This is the heart of Tech Park where the innovation hub is going to be. This is the town center and the adjacent property, and this just kind of orients you to what you have here. Notice here, that's a lot of private property left. This was phase 1, these retail shops and the Sprouts here. This is phase 2, what we're doing now. That's private property. And phase 3 will be this, and we have no idea. That's privately owned. That's not ours. This is what you see that's already been cut down there. This is going to be the Black Walnut restaurant. They're breaking ground on fairly soon. And this is going to be some future development. We've heard maybe a small boutique hotel, but right now, nothing definite. And so that's just to orient you of what we're talking about. Here's a picture. That's already in place. If you go down the main drag across the forum, that's what you see. That's just in the background. The circle's what you see, and the buildings are just the angle. This is just a slightly different angle. That slightly different angle there. This is from Peachtree Corner Circle with the town green on your right, looking back across that way. Here's the town center retail plan. Now, if you squint and you read quickly, you'll see the names of the companies that Fuqua is working on. And I'm sure I would get in trouble if he knew I was doing this, because some of the, she gets the joke. Those are letters of intent. They may not, and one of them, Marlowe's Tavern, has already signed, and they're going to be on there. And they didn't even put them on there. So these are the ones they're just working on. There are a number of them that are amongst my very favorites. And I'll just let those go for a second. Okay, town green plans are underway. And I want to make a point about this one, the Veterans Monument. And you see the location. It's right here, this town green. It's over in this corner over here. Those are the symbols that are going to be on the town green. And I'd like to ask you all, Bob Bala, you here, Bob? Raise your hand. See him in the back row there? Bob's leading that for us. And I appreciate his service in the Army for many years, and the fundraising for that. So if you, let me suggest or challenge you or whatever, that if you were a veteran or if your dad was a veteran, buy a brick. Support that, because I'll buy one for myself. I'm a veteran, and my dad, was in the war. So I will do that for him. And the plan for the Botanical Gardens. Oops, sorry. The Botanical Garden, this is Medlock Bridge. People will come up on the multi-use trail, come along here, and I'll show you how that works on another map. There's the town green we just talked about, Veterans Memorial. They come along here, and there's the Botanical Garden that's a part of us trying to preserve some green space that we talk about. And it leads, of course, to the pedestrian bridge here. Pedestrian bridge, we've had several town halls on that, so I'm not going to get into a big presentation, but our top priority was connectivity and safety for the citizens. We know there are going to be a lot of events, so we just wanted it to be safe for the citizens who are crossing there. The connectivity for the multi-use trails going across that area and connecting the city, that's where it connects, and to promote economic growth. We've covered this one. Now, I'll tell you, although the town center is the one I talked about first, that's just because it's what we started first. I mean, we had to buy the property across from the Forum, so we started that in 2012. I mean, so we're further along with it. But if there's one project that I think is the single most important thing we're doing in this entire city, it's the innovation of Tech Park. I think that's where the jobs are. That's what underpins our property values. And the things we do to preserve that aren't just in our lifetime, but for the future as well. The elements of the Innovation Hub, by the way, we have a project, an Innovation Hub project, and the guy we've got to help us with it is a guy named Wayne Hodges. Wayne he's a retired provost from Georgia Tech. He was the founder, one of the founders, and the first director of Georgia Tech's incubator, the Advanced Technology Development Center, ATDC. And he helped Georgia Tech put their Innovation Hub together there in Midtown. And so that's something that we taking full advantage of that. And as we go forward, the elements are infill housing. In other words, if you're going to have a successful innovation hub, you need people, workforce near jobs, and the recommendation was repurpose the parking lots and buildings. Infill recreation, and you'll see how we address that, to add boat docks, bike lanes, and trails. And this most important, about a year ago, we hired Georgia Tech to come in and do an assessment. Tell us whether it's feasible. Because if you think about our problem, remember, we had a high vacancy rate in Tech Park, and the whole character of Tech Park was beginning to change. It wasn't pure high tech anymore. That's the kind of jobs we want to have here. What suits that? Nothing suits it better than an incubator. If you study it, as we have, what you find is that if you think about a city's need to do economic development, what do most cities do? Well, they hire a Chamber of Commerce person, give him a secretary and a big travel budget, and he goes to that guy's town, and he says, I'll give you an incentive package to leave her town and come to my town. And how long does that last? Until the incentive package runs out. I mean, that's kind of the way that pattern works. what you find with incubators is that most everybody's heard 9 out of 10 business startups fail. If you have a well-managed incubator, and we're partnering with Georgia Tech, so it'll be very well managed, 8 out of 10 succeed, and most important, over 80% of the ones that are incubated in an area stay in an area. And so startups, they don't really care about Class A office space. So if you've got old office and you're cranking out a lot of small businesses, that's really a way to, and a lot of young people, they want to ride their bikes, you know, living in millennial housing, which is very small space, you know, having access to the walking trails and the bike paths, that's important to them. So that's why we did that. And the Twin Lakes project was approved, I think, in February of this year. It adds both infill housing and recreation. How many people knew there were 2 lakes in the middle of Tech Park? God, you guys are smarter than me. I had no idea. I knew there was a lake there behind the recall building. I happened to have been up in their parking lot for a reason, but I had no idea it was that extensive. Let me kind of orient you to where that is. This is Reps Miller Road. This is Norcross. That's Peachtree Corners. That's right on the border with Norcross. These are see those? Those are 3 old buildings. They're 1 stories. They're technologically obsolete. They have blue tarps on the roof. That's some of the first buildings that Paul Duke built. And so when the developer wanted to address an area, they found this because it's right there on those lakes. And so what they did was we had developed a T&O policy, trails and open space. So to give them extra density, because that's a very small space, they bought extra land and donated it to the city. So if you look at the outline in yellow here, that was donated to the city. This area here, giving public access to the lake. And we'll have a walking trail all the way around the lake. See this over here? That's about 4 acres, right on Engineering. That's where this is that's Engineering Drive. The developer is going to pay to put a stoplight right there and build a road from there all the way up there, which is a big improvement in traffic. If you have ever driven Engineering Drive, that will now help you catch this, and then that's Technology Parkway South to come up here to Spalding. So that really completes a loop from Spalding all the way around, which is a good thing. Here is the walking trail, and that's the Colonial Pipeline. So we're going to just build it right on that Colonial Pipeline to come right up here to Medlock Bridge and walk Medlock Bridge down to the town center. That's how that's going to work. That's kind of what Tech Park looks like today. I think we all know that. That's a rendering of what it'll look like with on apartments there. Here's the multi-use trails that have got equal connectivity. Here's where we were talking about, right in this area. And here's those lines are connecting as well as going down over here to Holcomb Bridge Road. And we've jokingly nicknamed this the Peachtree Corners Beltline. I mean, it will complete, and I'm sure we'll think of a cuter name or a better name, and I frankly don't care. It'll be fine. But as you can see, it crosses right here. It starts here, and it crosses there and comes down here. It'll go through the Forum and go down to the YMCA, turn left, and go down through Tech Park on that side of the road. And the building owners down there have already told me, hurry up. We're already telling our corporate realtors that you're going to do it, so they're all excited. Glenfield Capital, James Cate, he's founder and one of the managing directors of Glenfield Capital. They're now probably the biggest property owner in the city. Used to be Tech Park, now it's Glenfield Capital. They own over there. Matter of fact, if you were at the Peachtree Corners Festival, that open area where the stage was there, their buildings are up and down that area there. But they own, since we formed as a city, they like our vision, they like the idea of redeveloping, Peachtree Corners. They bought 8 buildings valued at over $50 million. They're our biggest, and they are excited about the walking trails. And they're the ones who told me that. Connectivity is the whole point. And here, that's if you take Technology Parkway down at the Marriott and you start going up, you probably recognize that. That's the Colonial Pipeline easement. This is what it'll look like if we put, a walking trail, a bike path over there beside that. The business incubator. And I have to watch myself or I could talk about it all night. I think it's probably the most important thing we're doing. develop, support, and retain jobs. It's underway at 147 Technology Parkway. For those of you who don't know, that's the first floor of City Hall. We have a very cheap rate on rent, and we just as soon do it right there because it's like $9 and change per square foot, which is pretty cheap. So that's a good place to start. The launch will be in September. The name of it's Prototype Prime. It'll accommodate 50, actually a little more startups there. It'll include a makerspace. Now, we toured, doing our due diligence, we toured Atlanta, the Atlanta startups. We toured about 10 of them. Only one of them had a makerspace. Now, makerspace, as I indicated, it's the way people these days, it used to be like shop class in high school when they had all those tools, and if somebody wanted to build something, they could build a prototype. In a modern sense, we'll have some of those tools, CAD programs and things like this, but what you do is you put a resin in a 3D printer and you design it and you hit the button and it creates one in plastic or resin. And then you take it out and you go, wow. I mean, you know where Global Aviation is over there? Everybody's seen that on Technology Parkway South? Global Aviation supplies aviation parts all over the world. And what they do is they supply a 3D printer and a source of very durable resin to all their customers. And then if you want to buy, you know, you call and you say, there's a 747 on the ground in Jacksonville or pick a city, you know, we need this part. They will transmit the specs and they'll print it right there on the spot. That's already being done, and those people support us tremendously. Those are the kinds of things that we want for Tech Park. And we're going to have a makerspace ourselves. Georgia Tech spec'd it, told us, get these things to start. You don't want to go too high, you know, just stuff that people can use, it's easy to learn, and that's where we're going. That's the name of it, Prototype Prime. Help entrepreneurs build and launch scalable technology startups. I've had people come to me and say, yeah, I want to start an accounting firm. Can I be in your, because it is pretty cheap rent. I mean, we will charge the rent for people who want to be there because we're trying to encourage startups. It's not for profit. All of those other ones, except Georgia Tech that we talked to, those were for-profit incubators. And all they're really interested in is they're kind of real estate plays. They're interested in making money on real estate. This is public tax dollars. We're interested in job development and keeping jobs here and creating the kind of environment. So scalable technology startups means you 5 guys right there want to start a business and you create something and your revenue goes up, but you don't have to add a lot more people. It's scalable in that regard until you need to add more capacity, more printers, if you will, or more manufacturing capacity. We are partnering with Georgia Tech. They'll provide program management, program content, contacts, and a 20-hour-a-week mentor. Now, we'll eventually be hiring other mentors as we expand, but right now, we're only going to be starting with one, and this person will help with training classes. There'll be 3 training sessions. Some of them are open to the public, and we'll be publicizing those to encourage people to come to them and enjoy it. But the other ones will be aimed at what the people in the incubator need for their training and development. Another difference between ours is some incubators, you can be there and you can stay as long as you want to. That's not the way Georgia Tech runs theirs, and we're not going to run ours that way either. We want you to be successful. We want you to launch. So we've hired an operations manager and a part-time executive director. And you know, once they find out where you are on the path to launching, then they determine, you agree with them. It's 24 months. That's how long you can be here. You know, and if you're making progress, you can stay a little longer. But the whole idea is we want to keep people going through it to encourage numbers.